her ending, especially
is
her
that
final
the,
moments.
Is that the Fremen that got eaten by the sandworms?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We are going to be reviewing Dune Part One today. It is a great day to do so. Dune Part One is just brilliant. Honestly, it's really, really great. I am glad that I waited this long to watch it. And I am very happy and very excited to see Dune tonight because it's Thursday when this comes out. So, yeah, Dune Part 2 is going to be incredible. There's been a lot of build up to it. I am a big fan of the Dune universe. I have read 4 of the books and I've seen the old movie back, when I was a kid. But I know that it's pretty old. It's like 40 years old. So, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I thought the new version, the adaptation from the old 1984 movie, this one's, I mean, it's good for nostalgic purposes, but this is a higher pedestal in terms of production, in terms of story, in terms of everything.
The scale of this universe is insane, and the constant threat that's being held and pressed upon our main characters is very, very serious, especially like Oscar Isaac's character, like Duke Leto, Atreides. And I think that Timothée Chalamet really, like, he stole the show for me, honestly. Like, I was like, wow, like, I am really invested in Paul's character. I think the books do a really great job with his character, and I think that like, this is one of the greatest works of science fiction in my personal opinion. So seeing it portrayed in a live action series outside of the old movie, this was like really close to what the books got going, and I really liked it a whole lot. And so I waited. This came out in 2020, and it was a victim of COVID, I believe.
I believe it still did really successful.
Or it came out in 2021.
Okay.
But
so
it was
after COVID. It was after COVID. That's right.
It was during COVID, but it's like it was in that time of like, was it safe to go back to the theater? Was it not safe to go back to the theater? Should you not? But I remember like it coming out, and I was just like, oh, I really want to go see it. And then I just procrastinated. I never got around to go watching it. And then like a year went by, and I was like, okay, well, I should watch this, right? And a couple people were like, you definitely should, but we're kind of upset. And I'm like, why are you upset? And they're like, because the ending's And I'm like, what do you mean the ending's And they're like, well, I didn't realize that it's a part 1. And I was like, oh, what? That's no reason to be upset over a movie. I love when a movie says part 1. That just means more, and that generates a lot of anticipation for me, and then usually a lot of payoff too. Now I'm really excited. I got really excited now that Dune 2 was coming out, and a lot of people that I personally know in my life have been like over the moon for it. It was time for me to watch it finally, because I was like, okay, there's only like a week left before I get to actually watch it without even having to wait years to watch the next entry.
And that's normally how I approach movies that have more than one part to them. Mm-hmm. Is going in like, I want to watch the movie and then just go into the next segment of the movie, just so it doesn't fall off in my brain, because it's there right now. So this movie was phenomenal. Like, oh man, everything about this movie, it's a masterpiece. The acting, like you said earlier, Timothée Chalamet's like character, like just the way he portrays this character, like he got me invested right away. Like I was hooked, like from the beginning to the end.
There's a magic. He has a magic to him, and he brings it really out in his character. Fantastic. Everybody in this cast is fantastic. I didn't realize how big this cast actually was. because we have like a lot of wonderful actors. Rebecca Ferguson, oh my God, she was an incredible actress in this. Like I said, Oscar Isaac. We had Jason Momoa. Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron was so menacing and so just gross at the same time. I loved it so much.
He's really good in this movie,
as well as Javier Bardem's character, being the leader of the people on the planet, and Josh Brolin. I thought he was great as bodyguard. Sharon Dukin Brewster was fantastic all the way up until her her ending, especially her final moments.
Is that the Fremen that got eaten by the sandworms?
Yes.
Okay.
But it was wonderful because like it was just like she was boom, boom. Yeah. I loved it. She, give it up to the Shai Halun, it was good stuff. Ah, man, really great story. Somebody I could see people who don't know any of the original source material of this universe or story really getting into it, especially if you're a science fiction fan. Like, this is an easy draw in, and I think that Hans Zimmer, who did the score of this, was fantastic. As usual, he's amazing, and he's worked on pretty much all the Christopher Nolan movies except for Tenet. But he just, damn, man, like,
you can see why he passed on Tenet to do this film.
Such a good composer, and I just every working piece made this movie perfect. Damn near anyway. I really loved it. Now, this film was directed by Denis Villeneuve, and he is honestly fantastic. If you've seen Blade Runner 2049, you'll know like that movie was incredible. The first time I watched 2049, I went to the theater alone, and I was like one of the only people in there, and I just was like mesmerized. It was an incredible experience. One of my favorites of going to the theater. But that movie alone is one of the best sequels that I've ever seen in my life. So knowing that he can do a sequel like that, like obviously I'm like, okay, Dune's going to be a great portrayal of a trilogy for him. As well as he directed Arrival, and if you've seen that movie, I feel like that movie is very underrated for what it is. Arrival is fantastic, but he, is a clear lover of science fiction, and I think that this is a perfect love letter to science fiction with Dune. There's so many great things to say about this. I know that people who are watching this are just gonna be like, but we want to hear about Dune Part 2. Well, tomorrow.
Yeah, we're trying to cramp so much into this episode, but this movie is just phenomenal. There's so much to talk about in this movie. We're just briefly grazing the surface of this movie. Like, oh man, Hans Zimmer's score, perfect in regards to every scene, just the way it comes in, the way it's portrayed. Like I said, Timothée Chalamet, even with Oscar Isaac, like his scenes together, like their chemistry is good.
Every actor's chemistry was perfect with each other.
Even with Timothy when he's on screen with other people, even when he's on screen with Josh Brolin, like when they're having their when they're practicing, they're fighting, and it's awesome. Even the special effects in this movie, like even their shields.
Yeah, the shields are crazy.
Shields, the little drones that travel. And even the spaceships, the craft, they look like little dragonflies flying around, and just like even the way that the worm was portrayed, the spice harvester, like the presentation of, if you don't know anything about this universe, like going into the presentation is perfect.
Yeah,
like,
you're not lost. Yes, there's a learning curve to the universe, but like you're not going to be lost. You'll figure it out as you go through this film, and especially if you're a lover of science fiction, you should have no problem adapting into this universe. So, this movie is just, I think, a full-on masterpiece. So I'm excited to see the next installment. Let's get to the review of this. What would you give this movie?
It's a 5.
Yeah.
This movie's a 5.
Yeah.
It's the story is really well presented. The pacing in this movie is absolutely perfect. Like, I think that the content's it's basically given to you in perfect segments. The shots, shot by shot, like this movie is beautiful.
The cinematography is insane.
It's great. Like I said, Hans Zimmer music, amazing. There's really nothing bad to say. Like actors' chemistry, like all the cast in this is amazing. They do wonders on screen with this, and this is a 5. I'm really hyped about going into Dune Part 2 now after seeing this. But yeah, this is a great portrayal of this masterpiece. You know, I've never read the books, but this was a great portrayal.
If I were to review this, obviously 5 out of 5 immediately. I didn't even, I got halfway through the movie and I immediately knew it was a 5 out of 5. I was just like, this is wonderful. This is everything that tickles my fancy. I absolutely am so excited for the next installment. I don't know if you've seen anything online, but the hype for it is incredible. All of my content creator friends, they all are just raving and raving because they all saw it last week. And
Raiders of the Lost podcast,
they watched it. Oh my God.
No, they're huge fans of Dune. So.
But everybody who is just giving their initial reactions, they're not really reviewing right now, but everybody who's giving their initial reactions are just absolutely captivated by what they've witnessed. They have described it as viewing a historical event in cinema. Like, so much so to the point that, like, if you don't see this, you're literally missing out on something actually, like, impacting in film history. And I am just heads over the moon for it. God, I am excited. So yes, I will be watching it tonight, because it's Thursday when this episode comes out. So we will catch you tomorrow for Dune Part 2 review. So before we go, I'll hit you with some fun facts like we usually do for Dune Part 1. And we can get on our way into the next episode later. So David Lynch, director of the previous Dune, 1984, stated that he has zero interest in Dune 2021. He cited that that his issues with the new movie have nothing to do with director Denis Villeneuve, but with his own painful memories of making the 1984 version, because it was a heartache for me, as he said. It was a failure, and I didn't have final cut. I've told this story a billion times. It's not the film I wanted to make. I like certain parts of it very much, but it was a total failure for me. That's what he said.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
I mean, I watched it, and it was a good portrayal, but it was nothing compared to this 2021 version.
Composer Hans Zimmer is a big fan of novel Dune and turned down working with frequent collaborator Christopher Nolan on Tenet to score this film, as we've said in the Tenet episode. For the same reason, Denis Villeneuve was the top choice, but turned down the offer to direct the Bond film No Time to Die in 2021. Hans Zimmer spent a week in the desert of Utah alone to assimilate some of the sounds of the landscape into his thinking for the score.
That's really, really cool. Just Hans Zimmer getting into his work.
Hans Zimmer, dude, he's one of the greatest of all time. The scenes on the ocean world of Caladan were shot in Stadlandet, Norway. Much of the desert scenes on the desert world of Arrakis were shot in Jordan and Abu Dhabi. So
in the Middle East.
Yeah, in the Middle East. In an interview with Empire magazine, director Denis Villeneuve described the year-long process that he went into designing the massive sandworms, the most iconic creature of the Dune saga. Uh, Quote, "We talked about every little detail that would make such a beast possible, from the texture of the skin to the way that the mouth opened to the system to eat its food in the sand. It was a year of work to design and to find the perfect shape that looked prehistoric enough." And I think that they pulled it off. Donald Mowat initially considered creating custom lenses for the blue-eyed Freeman characters, including Zendaya's character. However, VFX supervisor Paul Lambert and the visual effects department ended up digitally adding the Freeman's iconic blue eyes during post-production. Mowat explained, "We did a couple of practical lenses at first for Zendaya, and then I thought, who am I kidding? We're in the Middle East. There are sandstorms, heat, and dust. It would be a disaster." So makes sense.
Especially all the dust and stuff that's going to get in the lenses and stuff.
Linguistics expert David J. Peterson helped create the Freeman language for the movie. He is most well known for creating the Game of Thrones 2011 language of the Dothraki and Valerian. The first full trailer for the film features a version of Pink Floyd's Eclipse by composer Hans Zimmer. This is a nod to director Alejandro Jodorowsky's proposed adaptation of Dune in the 1970s, for which he wanted the band to write the score.
That's cool.
And we'll give one more for you. The film takes liberty in the still suits being of a dark color. This makes the actors much more visible to the camera, whereas the suits in the book were of the color that made it easier to hide in the sands.
Yeah, and the just portrayal and just the all explanations about the suits in the movie were it was awesome.
It's all good stuff. All right, that's going to be our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching Dune Part 1 review. We'll catch you tomorrow after we've seen Part 2.
Yeah, get ready for Part 2, and we'll see you then.
Thank you all so much for tuning into the Calvin Cam podcast. We appreciate you all so very, very much. And, you know, if you like us, hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps us out, as well as you can go over to our social media platforms like Instagram or X and follow us over there. We like to communicate and build our community up, as well as you could also go to patreon.com/thecalvincam and join one of our 3 tiers that we offer. We offer a couple of different benefits per tier, and it's good stuff, and it would really, really help us, and we'd really appreciate it, of course. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you later.